just give you a little introduction to the Wallace Center and the National Good Food Network. The Wallace Center, a business unit of Winrock International, is the host of the NGFN webinar series. The Wallace Center has been a leading organization in the movement for a more sustainable and equitable food system for over 25 years. Today, the center supports entrepreneurs and communities as they build a new 21st century food system that is healthier for people, the environment, and the economy. The center serves the growing community of civic, business, and philanthropic organizations involved in building a new good food system in the United States. In particular, we're focused on advancing regional collaborative efforts around the country to move healthy, green, fair, affordable food beyond the direct marketing realm into larger scale wholesale channels. The National Good Food Network, or NGFN, is an initiative of the Wallace Center. It's structured as a network of networks ensuring efficient flow of information and innovation from boots-on-the-ground projects to the national level and back down to the grassroots level across the nation. The Wallace Center coordinates and supports the network. Our goal is to work with growers to ensure that there is abundant supply of good food to meet the high consumer demand for the product, to collect and disseminate the best models, stories, methods, and outcomes, and to ensure that policymakers are informed about the wonderful successes our network and partners have had so that we continue to increase support for regional healthy food. You can learn more about the great work of the National Good Food Network on our website, ngfn.org. One major piece of the NGFN's work is the NGFN Food Hub collaboration. For the last couple of years, we have worked to support the growth and success of food hubs across the country with a four-pillar approach: networking, research, technical assistance, and intensive work with our study hubs and some regional food hub networks. We have a library of fantastic resources on food hubs. You can get there directly by typing foodhub.info into your web browser. This is a collaboration with USDA Agricultural Marketing Service, Center for Regional Food Systems, Farm Credit Council, Wholesome Wave, School Food Focus, and the National Farm to School Network, all bringing unique perspectives to supporting this linchpin piece of regional food systems. So let me now introduce our panelists for today's presentation. Darrow Vandenberg-Wortz is Portfolio Manager for the Healthy Food Commerce Investment Team at Wholesome Wave, where she works to help build strong regional food system infrastructure. Day to day, she provides business planning, investor coordination, and deal structuring assistance to food hubs that serve small farmers and low-income consumers. Prior to Wholesome Wave, Darrow worked on food system projects for the Commercial Lending Division at Self-Help, a CDFI based in Durham, North Carolina. Darrow has a Master's of Public Policy from Duke Sanford School and a Bachelor's in History from Yale. Jesse Rye is Co-Executive Director of Food System Enterprise at Farm Fresh Rhode Island. He works with leadership staff to oversee the Market Mobile and Veggie Box programs and direct communications and financial management of the organization. He has experience on the community level as a nonprofit manager, statewide as program director and communications specialist, and nationally as a researcher and advocate for cultural and creative enterprises. Jesse is determined, as a part of Farm Fresh, to grow a local food system that values the environment, health, and quality of life Rhode Island farmers and eaters. Okay, Darrow, why don't you kick it off for us? Don't forget to unmute.
Sorry about that. So thank you so much for joining us today. We are very excited to be able to introduce you to the Food Hub Business Assessment Toolkit that Wholesome Wave has been putting together. And I'm really glad that Jesse is able to join us as well to share the story of Farm Fresh Rhode Island, as he'll add a little color to the business assessment framework that we're talking about today. So we created and are sharing this toolkit because we want to encourage informed investment in food hubs. We want to help build strong regional food infrastructure. And we very much hope that you take the tools that we're providing in the toolkit and are talking about today to create change in our food systems and to strengthen our local economies. So Wholesome Wave is a national nonprofit organization that was founded on the principle that people of all socioeconomic levels want to feed their families well and should be able to do so. So Wholesome Wave innovates and incubates and works to institutionalize programs that increase access to affordable, healthy, and locally grown food, and that also generate impact on local economies and that benefit small and mid-sized farms. Our nutrition programs, the Double Value Coupon Program and fruit and veggie prescriptions, make it easier for low-income families to purchase locally grown fresh fruits and vegetables. Our programs now extend across 28 states and the District of Columbia and work to create a more equitable and sustainable food system. So while our nutrition promotion programs have typically focused on creating access at farmers markets and other direct-to-consumer outlets, the Healthy Food Commerce Investments team focuses on strengthening regional infrastructure and working with food hubs. We see regional food system infrastructure as critical to increasing access to locally grown food through the means that most people access it, through grocery stores, through the cafeteria, through hospitals, through dining halls. And our goal in the investments team is to expand the channels for local food so that farms can more reliably, more safely, and more efficiently sell product within their region and sell it to those larger buyers like wholesale buyers and institutions such as hospitals and schools, as I mentioned. So we began our work about 2 years ago, and we saw on one side food hubs that were facing some constraints. They had low cash flow, talent issues, unclear growth plans, and were unfamiliar with debt and equity investments, even though they acknowledged that they needed capital. And on the other side, we were talking to mission investors that wanted to work in this space, and they were saying that they weren't seeing the deal flow, or that the deals that they saw weren't investment ready, and that the businesses needed pre or post financing technical assistance and business development assistance to get ready for investment. So we found ourselves in the middle and realized that we could help ease the path to growth in this sector. So by providing business development assistance to food hubs to help them get investment ready, and then connecting them with investors and working with the food hubs to work with those investors to orchestrate deals. So our team has orchestrated or triggered about $4 million in investment across 5 deals over the last 2 years. These include a variety of food hub and food projects. We've worked with 2 produce aggregators and distributors. We've worked with a commercial farming operation, a real estate development project that built commercial kitchens for a food business incubator, and with a fish aggregator that works with small fishermen in New England. Obviously, many of you may know that Grasshoppers has closed down, unfortunately. And as investors, we have learned a tremendous amount from the experience and from having an inside view, but that's a topic for a whole other webinar. Our efforts have also included working with Farm Fresh Rhode Island, and Jesse can speak to the amazing work that the organization does.
Thanks, Daryl. I'm Jesse. I'm one of the co-executive directors of Farm Fresh Rhode Island. We're a nonprofit organization dedicated to growing a local food system that values the environment, health, and quality of life of farmers and eaters. We consider our organization part incubator, part activator. Our programs grow the local food system by building the capacity of producers, markets, and eaters. To achieve these ends, our programs work at the intersection of 3 main areas: wholesale aggregation and distribution, culinary production and education, and public markets. At the heart of all of our work are farmers and eaters. Before we specifically get into more information about our Market Mobile and Veggie Box programs, I wanted to give you an idea of the variety of our work. To start, we host an online local food guide for Rhode Island and southern New England. We directly manage 8 farmers markets in low-income neighborhoods of Rhode Island. We accept SNAP benefits at all of Farm Fresh markets and provide assistance for the implementation of this system at other markets throughout the state. With the support of Wholesome Wave and other funders, our Bonus Bucks program supplements SNAP user benefits at markets. In 2013, we gave out $40,000 in additional bonus bucks. We do weekly gleaning and food collection and delivery of fresh food to soup kitchens and food pantries across Rhode Island. We have nutrition education programs at our markets, including Healthy Foods, Healthy Families, a bilingual 16-week program for low-income families with learning activities for both parents and children. We house the Rhode Island Farm to School program, and also in partnership with Wholesome Wave and Thunder Mist Health Centers, we host the Fruit and Vegetable Prescription Program to provide money to shop at farmers markets as a prescription to provide additional healthy choices for families battling pediatric obesity. And last but not least, our Harvest Kitchen program is a 15-week culinary training program for youth within the Division of within the Division of Juvenile Corrections. They create and sell jarred and dried foods using ingredients sourced from local farmers, as well as receiving job placement training and assistance.
So when Wholesome Wave works with food hubs, we think about their operations in terms of different types of activities. So there's aggregation food hubs that work directly with producers to aggregate and store different products from multiple farms to one or more centralized locations. There are distributor food hubs that store and transport product to end consumers. There are retail or diversified market food hubs, which is sort of a catch-all term for engaging in a variety of activities that can include wholesale, retail, real estate rental, and educational activities. These are often community retail hubs that sell to end consumers through retail outlets or online grocery sales or a CSA-style farm share box. And then there are also processor food hubs. So there's those that process for convenience, for example, taking fruits and vegetables and doing light processing, such as washing, peeling, chopping, bagging. And then there's those that process for preservation. So they take farm products and make them shelf-stable or frozen. And each activity manifests itself differently in the food hub's business. So their financing needs, their operations, the type of expertise they need on staff, et cetera, those things differ depending on what types of activities they take on. But food hubs often do multiple of these activities. Through its Market Mobile and Veggie Box program, Farm Fresh Rhode Island serves as an aggregator, distributor, and retail outlet. Jesse? So, Jesse, do you have your mic off, perhaps?
It looks like Jesse actually just dropped off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yay, internet.
Oh, that's not great. So I can talk a little bit about, probably won't do it justice the way that Jesse would have, but can talk a little bit about Farm Fresh Rhode Island's Market Mobile and Veggie Box programs. So Market Mobile moved about close to $2 million in local food in 2013, and it's an aggregation and distribution hub. It sources from, I believe, about 60 farmers across Rhode Island and New England, and then distributes into institutions, restaurants, and other businesses in Rhode Island and the Boston area. Veggie Box is a CSA-style farm share box that uses the produce that comes in through Market Mobile and sets up businesses with a business can collectively do a sign up for the program, and multiple individuals get a farm share at that business or at their workplace. And these programs have significant impact for the farmers, allowing them to access larger markets and also make it a lot easier for the institutions and restaurants to access this local produce.
Tara, let me just jump in. One unusual aspect of the Market Mobile is that buyers purchase through a website. Buyers purchase from particular growers. So the growers will list the products that they will have available that week, and then the buyers may choose parsley from 3 different growers or one particular grower if the parsley from that grower has a better price for them or better quality or is bunched in a way. So there's a minimal sales team on site at Market Mobile, which is it's an interesting and somewhat unusual model.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that comes to the warehouse is already sold.
Yes, it allows it's definitely the definition of just-in-time inventory.
Right. Okay.
So in our work with food hubs, Wholesome Wave has developed a process for as food hubs approach us or contact us or we hear about food hub operations, we screen those businesses to see if they're a good fit for our work, to get to know the organization and understand how or if we might work with them more in depth. And with that understanding, we will move on to a more in-depth assessment of the food hub, trying to get a sense of their potential for growth, for impact, and financial viability. And that helps us determine what type of capital the business might need, and then work with them to engage investors. So while Wholesome Wave's process has 3 main parts, these components are not perfectly linear or distinctive. They build off of one another, sometimes overlapping, and are often iterative, one leading us back to the one before and then back to the next step again. But at each stage, we use a set of tools and frameworks to analyze and understand the business. Jeff, I don't seem to be able to move to the next slide. There we go. So during this screening phase, we try to get a sense for, we look at 4 main areas. Is the business unique from a conventional model? So essentially, is it a food hub? And then trying to get a brief sense of the strategy and business model. So does the entity show promise and potential financial viability? We also, as a nonprofit, want to understand the impact potential. Does the entity's mission fit with Wholesome Wave's mission? And the team is incredibly important. We want to know that there's clear leadership and a capable support staff. So this is an example on your screen of the screening that we did of Farm Fresh Rhode Island about a year ago. And one of the questions that we ask when seeing if a business meets our criteria for being a food hub is about how it sets prices. And we like to see that pricing is developed with the farmer's livelihood in mind and that the process is transparent for all the parties involved. So Jesse, if you're back on, it would be great to have you tell us a bit about how Market Mobile develops its pricing model and how it sets prices.
Sure. I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, in terms of Market Mobile and pricing, Market Mobile is a completely transparent wholesale marketplace, meaning by that farmers and producers set their own prices. Farm Fresh takes an administrative percentage for the overall sale, and that percentage is known both to the seller and the buyer. So customers order by farm and not by product, which means for our operations we carry virtually no inventory, and everything that arrives at our warehouse is pre-sold. So producers deliver ordered items to our warehouse the day before the customer delivery, and the product is warehoused by farm, so everything is traceable. And as Jeff was saying, we keep track of, if you want kale from X farm, you know that that's who you're getting it from. And then our deliveries go out the following day. So.
Great. So when we were screening the business model and strategy, we also wanted to see the sales track record that Market Mobile and Veggie Box had. Could you, I know it's been a while, but can you tell us about what the revenue and the margins looked like at the point that Wholesome Wave started working with Farm Fresh and how they've changed?
Sure. So Market Mobile started in 2009, and we started working with Wholesome Wave, I believe in the summer to fall of 2011. To give you an idea of what we were doing before we started working with Wholesome Wave, in the first 2 years our sales were around $200,000, and then they jumped to around $700,000. The year that we started working with the Wholesome Wave team, we ended that year with sales of about $1 million. And for Market Mobile, that still didn't mean that we were necessarily turning a profit or meeting our expenses for that program. The program started out with some subsidies in terms of grants to help us get kick-started, and a lot of staff from different programs were volunteering in order to make the operations viable. Looking ahead, since we started working with Wholesome Wave, both 2012 and 2013 were very strong. 2012 we had over $1.5 million in sales, and this past year we closed with over $1.9 million in sales. And 2013 was really great for Market Mobile in that we finally found ourselves turning a profit, covering all of our expenses and able to take some of that additional income and put it back into our reserves. So that was really great. That was kind of the intent of that program all along. And we know that Veggie Box and the growth of that program has been a real big driver in the success of Market Mobile. In 2013, we delivered about 16,000 boxes to over 90 work sites and community pickup locations around the state. And when Veggie Box first started, our profit margin was low. We weren't doing as well as we could have to make that program profitable. And in the last 2 years, we've made some pretty good decisions based on the advice that we've received, and we saw that program bring back pretty significant returns this year.
Great. And can you, I know there's been some evolution in the team at that run Market Mobile and Veggie Box. Can you tell us about what the team was like when we started working together and the shifts that have been made since?
Sure. When we started working together in 2011, our team was significantly smaller in all facets of our organization. We had people that were doing a lot of different things. Our founding executive director was very, very gifted in that not only was he very interested in local food and farmers, but he also had a great acumen for software development. So he had built our system from scratch, and that was a great skill that he brought to the table. But I think it would be safe to say that no one at Farm Fresh has a background in food distribution. We have team members who grew up on farms or around farms, but no one could claim this as their primary area of expertise. So we come together as a staff because I think we all believe that there's big elements of the food system that are broken and that we're trying to solve these problems. But what that also means is that everyone is growing into new roles and taking on new responsibilities and learning new skills. Some big changes have happened since we started working together. We had a leadership transition where some of our team has left and new people are in new roles, including myself, and it continues to be a learning process, but we're all feeling really up to the challenge.
Great. So if a business fits with our goals and shows promise, as Farm Fresh Rhode Island did, then we move on to assessing the business along 9 major dimensions shown here. So the toolkit that is the topic of today's webinar lays out the framework for evaluating business fundamentals along these 9 major areas. And each of those covers multiple topics. For example, the risk mitigation section assesses how well a business is prepared to handle the risks with food safety issues, with labor issues, with supplier disruptions, with policy changes. I know a lot of us are tracking the Food Safety Modernization Act to see how that will affect food hub businesses, and being prepared to deal with such policy changes is an important element for food hubs, along with liability and legal coverage. So after answering the questions and collecting the data in each of these major dimensions, we summarize each dimension with a rating. We use a Rastafarian color scheme of red, green, and yellow, and we use, set up quick notes for ourselves as a reference for where we think the food hub is strong and weak. So this is a screenshot of a template that, an Excel template that we have shared, we'll be sharing along with the main body of the toolkit. And it will allow you to answer the major questions laid out in the toolkit, and then it will funnel in and feed into this executive summary page that we have shown here. In putting together this toolkit, we had a couple audiences in mind. So we hope that it proves useful for experienced lenders and investors that want to understand what to look for when they're considering investments in food hubs. And also for food system funders or for program-related investors, we hope that this serves as a good starting place for digging into the business fundamentals of a food hub. But we should be clear that it does not teach investing. And for policymakers and government officials, we hope that this can serve as a tool that they can use to coach and guide the development of food hubs in their jurisdictions. And last but not least, we hope that food hub developers or operators or folks that provide technical assistance to food hubs can use this for business planning. We built this toolkit based on Wholesome Waves and other contributors' experiences, and we do not intend it to be a prescription for how to conduct a business assessment of a food hub, but it's simply a framework that we hope that users can build their own practices based on it and use their own experiences and needs and adapt it to their needs. So we do not expect users to follow it exhaustively or to the letter, and it's just simply a suggestion for how to approach business assessment. With that in mind, as you go through the toolkit, it is not necessary to conduct your analysis in the order that it's presented in, or that you even complete all sections of the toolkit. And you'll also be able to assess some topics with simply a phone call, or while others will take more in-depth research and analysis. So we see a couple ways that you can use this toolkit. So you could do a quick assessment after screening the food hub to see that it matches your goals. You could fill out the assessment worksheet to the extent possible with the information that the food hub provides through a business plan, say, plus any information you could obtain through a brief interview. And this will allow you to see easily where the business has strengths and where there are areas for improvement or where you need to gather more information. And that'll help you quickly determine how to engage more deeply with a food hub. And for an in-depth assessment, it will involve conducting interviews with food hub operators and with food hub employees and their suppliers and customers and competitors. Site visits are a good idea, as well as verifying or validating any information that the food hub provides, along with conducting independent research or gathering data and doing your own analysis to really understand the business. And for food hub operators or developers, this toolkit can be used to help guide the planning of the development of a new food hub, to help with internal business planning, and to help prepare for investment, for seeking investment. So for each of the major dimensions, the 9 major dimensions that I mentioned, there are several elements that we look at. For the business model and strategy section that we'll be talking about today, we want to understand and assess why the food hub exists. What's the purpose of the food hub? Why is it needed, and what role is it filling? And we want to know how it makes money. And we also want to understand why customers will pay for its services and products, and why suppliers will work with the food hub. And we also want to know how it is different from its competitors or substitutes, and why it will succeed in the face of competition. So with each of these topics or elements that we've included in the toolkit, we have put in the toolkit the data to gather, or the question to answer, as well as an explanation of how to interpret that data or interpret the answer to that question. And we've also included examples of what a food hub that is strong, medium, or weak in this area might look like, to just provide a sense for a target. And we've also provided some context and examples. So for the business justification section, we have provided an example of 2 food hubs and the needs that they were addressing. In other sections, we include data from the 2013 National Food Hub Survey, along with benchmarks from the conventional or traditional industry. So in assessing business justification, we ask what issue or need is the business addressing. And we consider a food hub strong in this area if it can clearly articulate why its services and products will be accepted in the market area it plans to serve, and has supporting data and analysis to justify that. So Jesse, can you tell us about when Market Mobile was created, what issue or need it set out to address?
Well, the primary issue it set out to address was connecting Rhode Island chefs with Rhode Island farmers directly, and doing that in a way that was beneficial to both parties. We heard from buyers that they prefer getting less deliveries throughout the day, but still wanted to maintain a genuine connection with the farms. Farms wanted to increase business to wholesale buyers while still keeping their own margins as high as possible. So right now, in order to do that, they make one stop at our warehouse as opposed to 15 to 20 deliveries to restaurants in the area.
Great. So for this topic, we asked the simple question, how does the business generate revenue? How does it make money? And a food hub is strong in this area if the business knows exactly how it generates revenue, and that revenue model is appropriate for its chosen activities. For example, for aggregation and distribution, a % of the sales price makes a lot of sense. And this is an often, while it may seem obvious, it's an important question to ask when you're talking to startups or when you're working with nonprofits that might be unaccustomed to earned income. Jesse, will you tell us about how Market Mobile generates revenue?
Sure. Market Mobile takes administrative percentage from the cost of what's listed, meaning that a farmer lists their price, and they know that we have right now an 18% administrative charge built in, so they can adjust their price to whatever they see fit based on whatever margins they want to make, taking into consideration our 18%. As I mentioned before, this is all completely transparent. We have an annual meeting where we get together farmers and buyers, and we discuss issues like our administrative percentage and other things, so everyone knows what's happening throughout the system. And with our Veggie Box program as well, we were charging $20 per box, but we recently raised it to $25 per box. When we first started working with Wholesome Wave, our administrative percentage in 2011 was 15%, and because we saw that the program didn't look like it was really sustaining itself at that level, we had to have a lot of difficult conversations both with farmers and internally, and raise that to 18%. We realized that it was going to make the prices higher on our system, and had a lot of conversations with key producers and buyers to see if everyone felt comfortable with that. So
So you'll notice that the yellow mark is from when they were at 15%. And clearly now the 18% is allowing Market Mobile to cover its expenses and break even. So that's fantastic.
Darrow, it's the 18% I think, as well as gaining more experience in the work that we're doing and getting more efficient at it as well. So those two things combined, I think, really helped us turn the corner last year.
Great. So in assessing the value proposition that a food hub offers, we ask, why would a customer buy the service or product from the company, and why would farmers or suppliers work with this business? So often when people think about value proposition, they just think about the customer side, but it's particularly important with food hubs that they're thinking also about the suppliers. And we consider a business strong in this area if it can articulate specific reasons why customers will buy its products and has research or data to support its claims. And on the other side, the food hub should understand why farmers or producers will sell crops to the hub over other potential market outlets. So Jesse, what is a Market Mobile's value proposition?
Well, for the customers of Market Mobile, we feel that the process is streamlined. It's a one-stop shop for a diverse array of farm-identified local products. We have an easy ordering system for customers. It's all one invoice for the customers, even though it's from multiple farms. So for our farmers, as we just mentioned, they get to set their own prices and also get a larger cut of the sale than a traditional wholesale market. And they also have some built-in marketing advantages from working with Farm Fresh. We also, and this is a really big thing, guarantee payment to farmers every 2 weeks, which is sometimes before the customers have actually paid us. So we're assuming a liability on behalf of the farmers.
To understand the food hub's competitive advantage, we want to know why this business will succeed against competition or alternatives. So even though many food hubs are taking novel approaches, all food hubs face competition. Customers always have alternate food distribution channels other than food hubs, and even if that means using conventional or not local food. So a food hub is strong in this area if the business can provide evidence of how it specifically is different and distinctive from competing options or alternatives, and why those differences create an advantage in engaging customers or suppliers. So I think that Market Mobile has a number of reasons that it is competitively advantaged. So would you talk about those a bit, Jesse?
Sure. I think one of the biggest things we've done is we've worked very hard to make genuine connections with our farmers and build trust. They know that we're going to do what we say we're going to do. And when you look at the work that we do across all of our programs, we've also built a significant amount of goodwill in the community and around the state. We have a diverse customer and supplier base, and that makes the products you receive from Market Mobile or Veggie Box pretty unique. So the ability to access all of that in one location is really attractive to a lot of different purchasers.
Thank you. So that was just an overview of the business model and strategy section, and we don't have time to delve in super deep into any of the other sections, but I wanted to just provide a quick window into the market overview section because it's where we see that many food hubs haven't done the research or have room for improvement. So a thorough market overview includes quantification of the size of the addressable market, along with profile and data on relevant consumer groups or key customer segments. There's a thorough profile of the competition in the region and an understanding of the relevant regulations with which the food hub will need to comply, along with an understanding of any programs that might support local food activity in that region. And not pictured here, but because it didn't quite fit, there's also need an understanding of the market trends and influences. So that would be relevant consumer trends around local food, an understanding of regional values or grassroots activities that might support the food hub. So I also wanted to share this section because it allows me to show off some of the resources that we've included in the toolkit. So these are things beyond the body of the toolkit, and as I mentioned, we have the Excel document that is a template for following the assessment process, and these are a couple other tools that we've included. So as examples, we have New Venture Advisors Local Market Sizer. So this is a resource not created by Wholesome Wave, but is pretty awesome. It provides an easy way to do a top-down estimation of the size of your market for local food. You just plug in the types of crops and the location, and it spits out some numbers for you. It's pretty fantastic. And then we've also included a guide that helps you understand how to segment the market, and also include some information about developing a sales pipeline. There's also examples of what assessments or analysis might look like in different areas. So we've included an example competitor chart, and we work with food hubs to create this visual comparison of all of the main elements and features of the food hub's business with their competitors, so that there's a clear picture of the landscape. So these are just 3 of the many resources that accompany the toolkit, but thought I'd show them off. And that's the end of our presentation, and we thank you so much for joining and look forward to answering your question. And also, please sign up to download the toolkit. It's not available right now, but it will be this coming week. And if you follow that link that we provided or type it into your browser, you can give us your contact information and we'll email you when it's available for download. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Well, there are very many questions, so we'd better get started. One quick question, Jesse. A couple people are interested in what software you're using to manage VeggieBox.
Yeah, we are using Delivery Biz Pro. They're based out of Colorado.
Great. Amy asks, has anyone found a food hub model that is self-supporting without grants? I can speak to that a little bit.
Yeah,
there are many. There are many. In fact, in the Food Hub Collaboration MSU study, we asked a question. So I'm going to paraphrase here, but it was something like, if you no longer had access to grants, would you be able to survive? One third of respondents said, grants? What grants? We don't use grants. We're totally self-sufficient right now. Another third gave an answer, something, again, these are rough numbers, but something like, we could still maintain our core business without grants. We may have to cut down a little bit on services, and 1/3 said that they would probably have to fold. I do want to encourage you to go to our archived presentation from the folks at MSU. We did a webinar with this, and the report is also available, directly on foodhub.info, so you can dig in deeper. Did you want to add, Taro?
No, I think that that covers it. I mean, I think that some start out because they're either part of nonprofits or because of the mission focus that many food hubs have. They start out with grants, but many are able to move into a self-sustaining business, just like Farm Fresh Rhode Island's Market Mobile did.
Right. Farm Fresh Rhode Island is a nonprofit, and Robert wants to know, if Food Hub isn't a not-for-profit, how does that affect its ability to attract investor capital? And before you answer, I do want to direct your attention to your screen now. We do have a handful of polls just to get some sense of audience experience with receiving or giving out capital. So there is a poll, it's an interactive poll. Feel free to click whatever is appropriate. Vote early, vote often. No, just vote once. So Darrow, nonprofit and affecting its ability to access capital.
So I think that there, obviously are some constraints that come up, and it depends on whether or not the investor or lender wants to work with nonprofits, but there's no reason that a nonprofit can't take on a loan, as Farm Fresh Rhode Island did. Equity investment is probably not is not a possibility for nonprofits, so that is a constraining factor. But I think that it really depends on the investors or the lenders and their willingness and ability to work with nonprofits.
Okay.
I would also say on the other end, I think that it also takes some comfort level with the nonprofit board. For a lot of folks that are on a nonprofit board, they're not used to the idea of taking on a loan, or may not be used to the idea of taking on a loan, and there's work often that has to happen to prepare board members and help them understand the value of it.
Excellent point. Kathy says, my experience is that low-income folks lack access to the internet, which would preclude them from ordering through MarketMobile. How do you get around this? Jesse?
We don't have, typically MarketMobile isn't necessarily for individuals. It's more for businesses that order. Our Veggie Box program does have subsidized aspects to it, where we work with a couple of different funders that provide subsidized boxes at food pantries and can talk to people, meet people. So there's other mechanisms besides the internet as well to get people signed up for access to Veggie Box.
And Jesse, just to stick with you, do you currently, or do you have plans for leasing the MarketMobile software?
We are still working through what that means for our organization. I don't have an answer for you at this time. So.
In terms of packaging, how does it work with farmers packing their stuff? Does Farm Fresh Rhode Island pay for the packaging? Do farmers pay for boxes to be delivered?
For MarketMobile, we have all of our farmers do their own packaging, and that's been there's a learning curve involved with that, depending on what size farm you're working with. But we don't assist with any of the packaging on that level. For Veggie Box, we obviously provide provide the boxes for that.
Okay. Can you, Darrow, talk about the geographic focus that Wholesome Wave has?
So simply, or partially because of where we're located and where our funding has been, we have been largely focused in New England, but that is not entirely the case, as we worked in Kentucky as well. So we're, as the rest of the organization, we're a national division, but historically it has been a focus of New England. We have been focused on New England.
Okay. And Darrow, have you worked with total startups with no track record whatsoever?
We have. This fall I was working with a business in Maine, and it's a lot more difficult but if we see that there's promise, if we see that it's a key component of food infrastructure that's missing, we believe there's value, and a lot of that honestly depends on I think that we mentioned this before, but having really strong leadership is incredibly important. It's not an easy thing to start a business of any kind, and it's certainly not an easy thing to start a food business. It's notoriously small margins in the food industry, and food hubs are no different, and perhaps even worse because they are also providing extra services that traditional or conventional businesses don't provide. So we have worked with startups, but I wouldn't say that it's our focus.
Got it. Okay. Tara, can you speak about the presence of organization models like B Corps and the use of venture philanthropy-oriented donors? I don't know if you have any experience with either of those structures. I'm somewhat familiar with B Corps, and I'm not sure exactly what the question is, whether or not it's something that a food hub might want to consider. But it's on the table, and it can be in certain where it's available. It can be a useful tool for building in impact criteria into your business model. Things that building that triple bottom line concept into the business model, or into the structure, the legal structure of the business. And the second part was, sorry, venture philanthropy. Mm-hmm.
Not quite sure what that term means, but so we have worked with philanthropy, so folks that want to see a very low return on their money, so that they would or no return on their money, but want to see it deployed in ways that are going to change the food system. So I think philanthropy plays an important role. In particular, we find that food hubs have difficulty finding the collateral. A lot of these are bootstrapping organizations, and they don't have the infrastructure or sufficient collateral to be able to take on a loan, or for a lender to feel comfortable giving a loan. And philanthropy can play a wonderful role in providing a guarantee to provide comfort to lenders.
Great. Jesse, this is a very interesting question from Nick. Has there been any outside perceptions of the Veggie Box program being in direct competition with existing single farm CSAs? Particularly in Rhode Island, you have a small area, and I could see that being a major problem.
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that we gave a lot of consideration to before we started the program. We did a lot of polling of people that are Veggie Box participants, and out of those people, 80% of them had never been part of a CSA model in any type. So in that first year, we felt like we were onto the right track in terms of setting up Veggie Box as kind of a CSA training wheels in some respects, getting people used to the idea of getting a weekly subscription of vegetables. And on our website and local food guide and at our markets, we do a lot to promote individual CSA programs. So we try not to compete either with other CSAs or farmers markets that are housed at a specific business. If we know that's going on, we don't aggressively pursue having those sites be work sites, because there's farmers that are already visiting there once a week. So we definitely try not to infringe on anyone's ability to have CSAs. And I think what we're finding with Rhode Island consumers is that a lot of them are very loyal to specific farms, and for that, veggie box probably isn't something that they'd be going for. But for people that are just getting used to the idea, it's a really great first step.
Great. Okay. Are there other food hubs in Rhode Island?
There are other people that are doing some aggregation and distribution, and there's some farms that are doing some great work too. I think we're probably, maybe by the textbook definition of a food hub, we're probably the biggest that's operating in Rhode Island. There's definitely other food hubs that are in Massachusetts and the region as well, so we're definitely not alone up here.
Great. Darrow, how is Wholesome Wave financially tied or involved with the food hubs you work with? Are you paid? Do you reserve part of profit share over time? Or I think we're interested in how, sort of a little deeper into how the deals actually work.
Sure. So this is actually a wonderful question. I think that a wonderful question for the sector as well. We've found that our work, the sort of intermediary work in investments is very important for getting deals done in this space, but it is hard to get funded. We're currently funded through grants, and we've had the benefit of having some wonderful foundations, and the USDA and EDA support us in this work. But it is a question going forward, and we're the one division in Wholesome Wave that is charged with eventually becoming break even, and it's something that we're trying to figure out is how we're going to fund this work going forward.
Okay, it's eating your own dog food in a way, right? Taryn asks, this seems like a great and thorough process, but how can due diligence costs be managed when one must move at such a detailed level, such that it includes things like interviewing producers?
That's a really great question, and that's why we have put this out as a framework. We want it to be, a list of things that you think about, or some areas that you want to make sure that you look into, but it is a costly process if you do all of this in detail. And honestly, the way that we have been doing it is that we work with the food hub to develop as much of this as possible, and we start talking to investors. We don't wait until the entire process is exhaustively completed. We start talking to investors early on and introduce them to the food hub and introduce them to the concept, and then often use their questions and their concerns to guide our further assessment, and help prepare the food hub to work with that investor. So again, please don't take this as the end-all be-all way that has to be done to the letter. It really is a framework, and some parts, will be skipped. But it's advice or an idea of what to look at.
Mm-hmm. Can you each speak from your different perspectives of what you think the role of local municipalities is for encouraging food hub development and really supporting a regional food system in general? So maybe Jesse, you can start with your experiences in your area, and then Darrow, you can speak a little more broadly.
Sure.
We've had a really good success working with the City of Providence and some of the other municipalities in Rhode Island when it comes to our farmers markets. Find that they're very supportive of that. In terms of kind of like veggie box, We have municipalities that host pickup sites at either City Hall or other municipal offices. So that's like a really easy way on the ground level to get involved with it. It's a really great way to show support for the programs. Moving forward, I think there's more discussion about public-private partnerships in terms of food hub growth and development and what can happen in Rhode Island. And I think we're at a place where we're starting some of those conversations right now. But Dara, what are your thoughts?
Well, we have seen that the food hubs that do best are the ones that have the support of their local municipalities and their state agricultural agencies, that there's a lot of good policy work that can be done to support the growth of food hubs. It could be helping to secure a space, perhaps something that was on government land or was owned by government, or helping change. It could be as simple as needing to change the zoning regulations so that a food hub can exist in an area that may have been zoned differently previously. So there's a lot of things that local municipalities can do. They can also help set up food hubs to secure funding from the state. That there's a lot of roles to be played.
Mm-hmm. Good. I agree. One quick question, Jesse. Are your farms GAP certified?
Some of them are. Each of our farms has like a separate profile on our online ordering system, and you can go on and see all of the differences between all of them, and that's how we handle that process.
Mm-hmm. And sort of without actually looking at data, do you see that there's a price differential between similar products that are GAP certified and that are not?
Just off the top of my head, I couldn't really tell you that. I know there's a wide variety of prices from different farms, and a lot of it has to do with growing practices. But offhand, I couldn't really tell you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so other producers can see what their compatriots are charging for a given product.
Yep.
So how do you deal with price undercutting, or is that not an issue?
We really don't get involved with pricing. We leave that up to the farmers. So it's it's an open marketplace, and we just go forth like that.
Mm-hmm. Great. And just a couple more questions about your farmers. What size and what is the geographic distribution?
Sure. I guess by the standard definition, most farms in Rhode Island would be in the small to mid-size definition, and that's here probably only a few. We have a lot of farmers working on smaller scale. In terms of distribution, we have 4 regular routes that we send out, and we cover the entire state of Rhode Island, and we also go up into the Boston region as well.
Okay. Dara, what are the costs for working with Wholesome Wave, for basically hiring your services?
So up to now, we have not been charging the food hubs anything to work with us. We, as I mentioned before, we're trying to figure out how to get paid for this work, and it may be that it might come out of, come from the investor side, or there's a lot of different options on the table for how to handle it, and it's something that we're working to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, there are many, many more questions, and I'm sorry that we can't. There are probably another 60 to 100 questions, so that shows that there's incredible interest in this topic, and Farm Fresh Rhode Island is just one example of an excellent, well-run food hub, but there are definitely others. We at the NGFN Food Hub Collaboration are trying to gather their stories and tell them. So if you are interested in other types of hubs in different regions with different models, please look at our webinar archives and our webinars in the future. Again, I apologize to all the many questions that we aren't able to get to, but I do want to thank Darrow and Jesse. I think you'll agree that the Food Hub Business Assessment Toolkit is well thought out and a valuable tool that really will help both sides of the capital equation to make dollars more effective at scaling up good food. We do have a convenient way to for you to learn how to get this toolkit on the post-webinar survey. It should pop up on your web browser. Just let us know, and we will hook you up. Moreover, I think you can see why Farm Fresh Rhode Island was very interesting to Wholesome Wave and is a National Good Food Network Food Hub Collaboration Study Hub. They are a real shining example of wonderful food hub triple bottom line business. This webinar is being recorded. It will be archived on our site along with the 50 other webinars we've done in the past. Feel free to send others you might think would have liked to have heard this presentation, and take some professional development time yourself and dig through our excellent archives, which are organized by topic on the left-hand side. We should have this webinar up within a few business days. Often it's up by the next day, we offer our webinars on the third Thursday of each month starting at 3:30 Eastern, noon 30 Pacific. Sign-up links are always at ngfn.org/webinars, and we'll make sure to let you know about upcoming webinars if you put yourself on the NGFN mailing list. Again, post-webinar survey, just let us know. Space is running out at our upcoming Food Hub Conference in Raleigh, North Carolina, March 26 to 28. If you found this webinar interesting, please sign up. I think you'll find this conference fascinating. It's really all about building capacity for healthy food systems. This conference packs a ton of information into 2.5 days. The tours are almost all sold out. A few spaces remain on some tours. There will be trainings for those who can't make it on a tour bus that first morning. We have tons of workshops, curbside consulting. We get short one-on-one meetings with some of the top technical assistance providers in the country, networking, good food provided by local food hubs, and for those living in the northern part of the country, an early taste of spring. So please join us and prepare to learn. ngfn.org/hubs2014. A couple resources. Foodhub.info is a food hub of information. Several people have asked how do we get more information. Well, foodhub.info is the place to go. Research, case studies, a map of many of the food hubs across the country. The NGFN Food Hub Collaboration is working closely with 7 food hubs across the country to document their stories, including Farm Fresh Rhode Island. Read about our study hubs on our site. There are links to technical assistance providers with experience in aggregation and distribution. The NGFN Food Hub Collaboration is building a community of practice of food hub managers and staff, and we are very excited to let you know about our interactive community that makes up this community of practice. We have a vibrant community of hub managers and staff, as well as hub supporters of all types, from funders, researchers, government, and so on, who are actively engaging with each other across the country. Recent answered questions include production planning, technical solutions, hubs that include a more traditional retail component, and ideas about energy efficient refrigeration. So join us there, ask questions, share your wisdom. Let us know if you'd like to be part of this community if you're not already. Again, in that post-webinar survey, you can an easy link to get to that Google group is bit.ly/foodhubtalk. We will hook you up if you let us know. Let me just take a moment to explain our conundrum. We have been offering these webinars for years. We bring you the country's experts on topics that are timely, with inspirational and actionable content. We've been told many times that we should really charge for these webinars. Other organizations and companies charge very high fees for their webinars, but we are committed to making our content available to everyone and anyone. If we were to charge, for instance, those nonprofits who most need assistance would not have access. Students, our next generation of innovators and good food champions, again, would not have access. So what do we do? For those of you who are able to afford to pay, please open a web browser and type in the address you see here. Donations can be as small as $10, but consider that according to one survey, the lowest priced webinar with an average length of 73 minutes, the length of most of our webinars, including this one, is $76. You are paying for your own education. You are subsidizing the next generation of innovators, and the donation is fully tax deductible. You can also make a pledge in the post-webinar survey, and we would contact you for further details. You can find the NGFN on YouTube, on Twitter, and on our website, ngfn.org. The Wallace Center is also on Facebook. Come like us, search for Wallace Center at Winrock International. Again, if you haven't already, sign up for our email updates. There's a link on the ngfn.org homepage, or easier than that, just let us know in this post-webinar survey, and we'll sign you up. Please contact us at any time. Our email address is contact@ngfn.org. The NGFN would like to thank you all and thank Jesse and Darrow for your time today. Once again, let me encourage you to fill out that survey, and thank you once again. This concludes the webinar.